Uh, so, Captain Underpants was first published in 1997. So, how did you know about that comic?
I actually came across it. I had just moved to LA from Canada and was in a bookstore and happened to see the very first book on the shelf. And I remember stopping and picking it up and kind of looking through it and thinking the title was ridiculous and the character on it was really funny. And I started flipping through the pages, and before I knew it, I was like halfway through the book, like right there in the aisle of this bookstore. And I just thought it was fantastic. I wished I'd come up with the idea myself. So, and I can't really think of many books actually that have had that kind of impact on me. So I got reintroduced to them again when I had my own kids. And we were in, hysterics reading them together. So when the studio ended up getting the rights to make the movie, and they approached me about it, I was super excited. I was already a huge fan, and 20 years waiting for it. So I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I actually hadn't even heard of the books until I was asked at work at DreamWorks basically to start helping on it, and so I picked it up, and I thought it was funny because. One of our managers said, "Oh, this would be perfect for you." And I looked at it, I was like, "Captain Underpants, what does that mean?" So, but then of course,
Is this a porno?
Yeah. But then of course I started flipping through it, and I asked my wife at the time, and she had been working with kids, and she's like, "Oh, those books are amazing." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll give it a shot." And so I read it that night, and I had the same sort of reaction as you. I was like, "How did I not think of this?"
Right.
Or like, "How have I not known about this?" It's so fun and unique, and it's definitely a book I would have loved reading.
Yeah, I mean, two kids hypnotize their terrible principal
Yeah.
and turn him into like their comic book creation. And he whips off his clothes and runs around the city in his underpants thinking he's a superhero.
So you read all the books?
I'd read them all with my kids, and then obviously reread them when I came on the movie.
Okay.
I read them through the process of working on the movie, just trying to mine them for any kind of design or sort of story inspiration for the artwork, really.
It was like just a beast in terms of his obsessional of like cataloging every illustration, kind of combining locations, I mean, Dave Pilkey draws straight ahead, so he doesn't have like typically animators use a model sheet so they can refer back to it, of how to draw the character from certain angles. He just does it straight every time, brand new. So the characters kind of change slightly from book to book. So we had to kind of pick
and choose
which aspects of his various versions of George we liked, and Harold, and et cetera, et cetera.
So did you use a lot of storyboards on the project?
Yes, I mean, that's part of the process of making these movies. We had a story crew in LA, really top-notch guys that did a ton of work trying to figure out the best way to visualize this movie.
So you use different styles of animation.
Yeah.
Was it intended from the start of the project?
It was one of the things I felt very passionately about doing, because one of the quality of the books to me that's the most unique is the fact that there's all these unconventional tricks that Dave Pilkey, the author, uses. The books are about these two fourth graders who are creative and make comics, and Captain Underpants is one of their comics. So you often see their comics within the body of these chapter books. Or he'll do, in every book, there'll be some sort of battle that's about to break out, and suddenly he'll go into this flip-o-rama, which is basically just a very primitive, flip book animation thing between two drawings. So, and I think those qualities made the book surprising and interesting to read for so many kids. So I felt that the movie needed to do the same thing, but we needed to make sure that it worked in a cinematic way. So some of those things translated, like the comics we could bring to life, the flip-o-rama, we needed to figure out a way to make that work, because essentially animation is like a super expensive, elaborate flip-o-rama. And then came up with all these different mixed media ideas. Anything, wonderful thing is we have these two wildly imaginative fourth graders at the center of our story who tell stories and come up with crazy things. So anything they came up with in their imaginations could could kind of work as long as the story supported going on these flights of fancy with them.
Humor is an important part of the film. Did
What
you
is?
humor?
Oh, humor, yeah.
Humor, yeah, yes. Did you have to make concessions for the film to be more family, for something more familiar?
To appeal to family audiences?
Yes. Oh,
We just wanted to make sure that there was humor for adults and for kids. Obviously, we've got a almost naked man in his middle age running around the city in his underpants. So there's a lot of physical comedy that was going to come, which we knew would happen, and he's super dumb. But we also, we do have all these fans of the books that are now in their 20s,
yes.
who grew up on them. So we wanted to make sure that that we could tickle their funny bones as well. And honestly, the cast, having this cast of great comedians and
Yes.
Kevin Hart, Ed Helms, Thomas Middleditch. I mean, it's like a murder's row of comedy greats, and they're all in that kind of. They're popular with that crowd.
Yes.
Their audiences are for their work are in their 20s. And 30s.
I love the way that there is a sense of potty humor in the movie, but you guys with the writing and storytelling that you guys did, you kind of poke fun at it as well,
Okay.
which I think the audience appreciates as well. So like it's not without like the characters even notice it themselves in the movie and are kind of making comments about it, which to me I always found that hilarious in any screening and definitely in the final film. So.
Yes, you can't really make a Captain Underpants movie without potty humor, but the challenge was we actually set up the bar very high for which when we would go there, and if it wasn't truly hilarious, and because it's very easy to do cheap potty jokes just because you're not spending the time actually trying to craft proper comedy.
Yeah.
So we compiled lists and lists and actually did like a potty humor pass where we looked at all of our jokes and ranked them in terms of like which ones were actually funny and which ones were so-so and which ones like we just needed to get rid of and put different kinds of jokes in there. So no, we didn't do, to answer your actual question, we didn't do a ton to cater to one audience versus the other because the movie inherently and the subject matter appeals to kids. But we did want to make sure we could bring in the older fans of the books as well.
Yeah.
So your team are based between the US, Canada, and France.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you worked together?
Yeah, well, this was a very different kind of movie for DreamWorks. It was our first time using an outside vendor that we partnered with, and we worked with Micros Images, which is based in France, but has a large unit in Montreal. So it was a great collaboration, actually. It worked really, really well. And it was a big experiment. It could have gone horribly wrong, but it actually went right in almost every way. And they were wonderful. They really respected what we were trying to do. Creatively, were very invested in the movie. And also, I think, brought kind of their own experience to the table. And I don't know, it was ultimately a really good collaboration. And I don't know.
And it was kind of nice too because we had integral parts of the movie made in different areas. So like the front end, the art department, story department,
story, editorial, everything, including layout, was done in LA, and then Micros handled all the animation, the lighting,
modeling, rigging, all that.
Yeah.
So in a way, both studios were really just as important to the movie. So it wasn't like one was sort of the stronger area and one was the weaker, which was nice because then we were forced to collaborate cross-site, which, both studios being full of great people, it was actually it was a different experience, but it was really fun and I thought really rewarding.
Yeah, the goal on the movie was to figure out a different model of how to make a big studio animated movie at a different budget with a different style and look and narrative to it. And it was a really great experiment. It was almost more like making an independent movie which you can't really do in animation very easily because they take so many people.
Yeah.
Which character will you identify the most?
Probably Harold.
Yes.
I'm, probably a little more of the introverted artist type. But I know Dave Pilkey, the author, always talks about, he says he's both. He's got different versions of him are reflected in both of those characters. I can kind of relate to that too. Definitely not Poopy Pants. Would not be.
I would say the secretary for me, because I'm a touch typer. No, some of my favorite animation in the movie is the secretary animation where she's like touch typing. It's like really cute. I would say Harold too. I mean, I think most of us probably would because more of the introvert,
most of the creative types probably.
Yeah, artist, and he's really quirky and fun in his own way.
So, do you think to adapt other stories from the universe?
We'd love to. I mean, there's 12 books in the series. And,
yes.
There's certainly more stories to tell. The movie just came out like barely 2 weeks ago in the States, so I think it's a little too early to tell. But we had a blast making it, and it would be very easy to continue making more of these. They're really fun.
Yeah, I'd certainly love to keep spending more time in the universe. I mean, just going through all the books and grabbing all the reference. There's so many characters that obviously we weren't able to use because the story didn't need them, but it's such an expanded universe of characters and places that he's taken these boys to that would just be fun to continue to tap into that.
And to finish, what's about your next projects?
My next project is a vacation.
Yes. It's not here.
Well, it starts here and continues in Europe. And then I have an original movie that I'm writing and had been working on prior to coming on Captain Underpants, and we'll go continue on for the time being when I get back from my break. And we'll see how this movie does, and whether there's more.
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of the same thing. Vacation all summer,
Together.
Enjoy some time. Well, we're vacationing
here.
Yeah, we're overlapping here, and the studio is working on some short projects at the moment right now. So I think I'm sort of helping out with a couple of those projects while we kind of wait and see what happens. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.